Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. It is March 14th here in beautiful New Jersey, and I'm broadcasting to you live. Unfortunately, Josh is not able to join us today. I would like to know why, but I have not gotten my doctor's note yet. I'm eagerly awaiting to see what dog ate his homework. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just torturing Josh because he didn't give me a heads up. But he does have a lot going on with Fall Toro, so I'm gonna let it slide this time. And besides, who needs boys when you have all these beauties of blockchain to hang out with? Today we're going we're gonna disprove the theory that there are no women in Bitcoin, and I'm gonna show you not one, not two, but three if you count me. And I'm really excited because I've got two friends. So we've got Dionna Bailey from Nexus coming up in just a little while, but our first guest is Juliet Annerino, and she's a singer and songwriter and a composer. She is the founder of reputationcheck.io, and that's how I heard about her, because there are some naughty boys out there and we don't like it. So how do we solve the problem of people being creeps, people not being able to report creeps? What about people that call people creeps and those people were just hanging out and they didn't do anything? So we're going to talk about that. It's a contentious issue. We live in the time of Me Too. There's some people who are, have a lot of really legitimate things to complain about. Some things where there's a little bit of wiggle room, where some people feel differently about it. So I'm excited to speak with you, Juliet, because of course we have our musical soul sisterness, and because of those topics I said. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tatiana. I'm very happy to be here today with you.
Cool. So before we dive into the blockchain and the reputationcheck.io, I'm curious to hear about how you, also a singer-songwriter, ended up in the blockchain space. Maybe you could give our audience a little bit of background about where you came from and sort of how you ended up here.
Okay, sure. Thanks. I have been a libertarian for a long time. I guess in that you can argue that label as well, but that's not what we're here today for.
Wait, I just remembered. I know where I know you from.
I bet you do.
I've been at your home.
Yes, you have. See that?
I didn't even remember that. It took me all of this time to figure it out. I went there with Angela Keaton.
Exactly.
It's such a long time ago. Sorry.
Well, we're connected,
See, the people in the audience are like, we don't care about this. What does she do?
This is cool. This is cool. I'm glad that we had that moment where you remembered, and this is important. Yes,
cool.
So I'm old school, along with you, Tatiana. Angela Keaton, right on. So I've written articles for Libertarian Institute, Scott Horton's, and work with Reason, the Reason Foundation. And let's see, who else have I written for? Well, I've done some writing for antiwar.com for Angela too.
Great.
Okay, so that was fun. It's great. And, as an artist, that any kind of writing in creativity is something that you dive into as well. You just automatically, you're more suited for it. So I was doing some of that and getting some recognition, not getting paid too much, but that's the nature of it, And then a friend of mine who had been working with an advertising agency in Santa Monica said, these guys are really getting into working with blockchain projects. And we think, since you're so into blockchain and cryptocurrency, that you would be great at writing this. So that's how I got into it. Now I want to just go into a little bit of my schooling, because it was not traditional schooling, as I'm sure you're familiar, because you have to school yourself because it's such new technology. There isn't a degree in it. Well, there's one degree you can get somewhere, I think overseas. But anyway, so basically this is what I did. Once you dive down that rabbit hole, it's just you immerse yourself in it. I think you probably had a similar experience. I was watching videos and reading any article I could get my hands on for 2 to 5 hours a day for the past year and a half, at least.
That's commitment.
Yes, it is. Or obsession or insanity. Take your pick, right? Or maybe along the lines of all three. So I was very happy to get into this field. And so I started writing content for blockchain projects, including like white papers, executive summaries, pitch decks, articles for Medium, etc. And it's been fun. I am reaching the point where, it's a little overwhelming. I've worked so much at it that I kind of need breaks here and there. And I did take a break to go to Anarchapulco, as I think you and I talked about, which is super fun. But anyway, I got the idea for my own project, reputation.io, because a friend of mine and I were having a discussion because it's so visible. It's so in the media. You can't even avoid it if you wanted to. And I thought, I said to my friend, there's an interesting phenomenon I've noticed. It's this, what I call the avalanche effect. And this is what I think is the pain point. Because things happen. And like you mentioned, there is different gray areas. But here's one thing that I thought, this is a problem that I think maybe I can do something about. This avalanche effect of, for instance, let's just take the Bill Cosby scenario, because people are familiar with that. This guy had been doing what he was doing, drugging people and abusing them for decades. And it made me wonder, how can this go on, even past like 3 or 4 people, let alone, for decades? And we've seen this phenomenon time and time again. So anyway, it occurred to me, because of fear and because of this kind of power that these people wield, that is, again, it goes along with this philosophical idea, which I'm really so in touch with, I know you are too, of blockchain being this opportunity for an equalization, a democratization of opportunity, okay? And I thought, this could be utilized, this new, brilliant, beautiful technology could be utilized to help level the playing field of communication and allow for these individuals, I'm not gonna say women because I love women as I love men, but this is individuals. This is a human issue. Okay, this goes beyond feminism, if I could say that, to express themselves and be heard and from a safe space. So what we can do is we can use a system of cryptography. This is called zero knowledge proofs, to protect their identities, yet share their information of their experiences with a group that can actually help them, that can actually maybe stop this phenomenon before it becomes this avalanche. So that we don't have to find out 10 or 20 years from now, oh my goodness, this guy's been doing this thing, he's got this pattern of behavior, because it's always a pattern of behavior. People are of patterns of behavior. That's how we operate. I mean, animals operate that way. We're not alone. So, but if we could stop that behavior pattern before it becomes this like disease-like progression, then we can impact society as a whole and bring responsibility and accountability to people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for all that. I'm just a little confused. So, okay, let's say, because I had, some of my own experiences. Okay. I had this guy grope me and I tried to report it. And what was extremely frustrating was the fact that, did you hear that weird, creepy sound in the back? I'm like, whoa.
That was me. I said, whoa. I didn't mean to be creepy.
Who's coming?
That reminded me of him. I'm sorry. That was bad.
It was like
I was just like, whoa, because groping. Ugh.
No, well, it was, look, it could have been a lot worse, but I was in the midst of asking to get paid, and then he put his hand up my thigh, and then I reported it. It was this guy, Bobby Rodrigo. I reported it to PANDA, which is the People Against the NDAA. And then they paid me my lousy $200 that he owed me, and then they fired me from the entire tour. And so I tried to combat that. And, I wrote them and I went to various, state organizations in order to say, look, you can't fire somebody for reporting being groped. That's insanity. And apparently you can. So if you're 1099, you can totally get fired for anything. And if you report getting groped, well, and then you lose your job, tough luck. So I was really, really disheartened by this terrible news. I was also discouraged by certain friends who didn't necessarily believe me, which was really almost worse than the original victimization. And at the time, I really wanted to come forward with it. I'm a freedom fighter. I'm really into, being really real with people. But at the same time, it was around the time that I was launching Tatiana Coin. And I felt like if I did this, then it's going to reflect poorly on all the people that worked on this project. And then it's, it's melodramatic. Maybe it's better to leave it in the back. I was told that I would be blackballed. I mean, there were a lot of different reasons why the resolution never really occurred. There was no resolution. They got away with it.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that I'm like one of a million gajillion people out there that this happens to. And I was lucky it was a really small thing. And if you think about it, all right, some guy groped your leg, who cares? But it was really, really way more traumatic than I ever thought that something like that would be. And I consider myself to be a strong woman. So I understand how other women would have a hard time with this because of all the things that, I'm sure happen with me are part of a pattern that happens with other victims. So how does this let's get in a little bit deeper. How would that work if I had that situation? And how do we make sure it's not a witch hunt?
Okay, great questions. And first of all, I have to say, I'm really sorry that happened to you. And unfortunately, it is very common. And it is surprising to us as individuals how traumatic that kind of scenario can be, because like you said, it seems like, oh, it's a small thing, but it's actually less about sexuality than it is about power. And this individual just was exerting his power upon you to dominate you. And that is what is so horrible about this phenomenon. And you have to ask yourself, which I have to ask myself, because this similar situation happened to me back when I was in college. Has this guy done this before? Will this guy do this again? What is there to stop him? And these are questions that we have to ask ourselves and look to answers for. So, okay, to answer some of your questions in specific, I want to answer this question first, because I think it's the one that on everybody's mind when they find out about the platform. They think, oh, that's a cool idea, but what about false reports? How can we mitigate that? How can we at least minimize that? I can't literally stop a person from lying, okay? But we can minimize the chances that someone is lying, and we can expand on the possibility that they are telling the truth. Okay, so we have 3 ways with reputationcheck.io that we can do that. The first is that and I think you'll appreciate this because it goes hand in hand with what I like to think of as a principle in the freedom movement. I like that you're smiling right now. It's an awesome expression on your face. In that small communities, there is power and there is responsibility with community. And that's what I like to stress, because this is a community-oriented platform. It isn't for the entire world to access the entire world, as it is in specific to connect a certain community, because within communities, there is responsibility. And that's how we can hold people accountable. Okay, so therefore, the first requirement is that you be a member of a specific community. Okay, and so the platform is enacted within a community. For instance, let's take the most obvious one. In order to submit a report against, say, Paramount, someone who works at Paramount, you're going for an audition with them, you would have to be a member of SAG-AFTRA, the actors union. Okay, and so then the question from that stems, what about if there's a cost involved in joining the union? What about people who have a problem, but they want to report it, but they're not yet able to become members of the union? There's something that I have an idea for, to be a junior member. Okay, so that would require you to contact 3 members of SAG-AFTRA, and just get verification through them, through the system, and then you can submit a report. Okay, it just helps to establish some responsibility, some connection with the community. Okay, that's part one, number 1. The second part is there would be some kind of a nominal membership fee. So people wouldn't just habitually just throw 10 reports on, one person, just whimsically. So there's some kind of a financial responsibility there. The third way, and this may be the most interesting and maybe the most effective way, is that the reputation reports themselves will be structured and formatted to be extensively detailed. They'll have drop-down menus requiring very specific and sensory-based data. Studies show that sensory-based data, such as like what was going on, was it raining, what was the smell, the sounds, things like that, are more likely to be included when somebody's telling the truth. When somebody's telling a lie, they get more general. And when someone's telling the truth, the responses are more immediate. They're faster because you don't have to think about it. You say, yeah, I was in this room, you were sitting in a blue chair, yeah, etc. Okay. So when somebody's telling a lie, they're thinking, let's see. Okay. So there will also be a time limit on how long it takes for people to fill out these forms. Now, this is going to be very specific and very structured to assess a certain situation. So, okay, so what could have happened with reputationcheck.io in place for you in this situation is within that community, whatever community that you were in, if they had taken the responsibility to jump on the platform to pay for license the platform, then anyone within the platform would have had an opportunity to report this guy. And then the system would aggregate reports, and it would report it to the responsible parties. So anonymously, that's the key right there, anonymously. So you wouldn't have to worry about blackballing. It's really interesting that you brought up that you were also surprised at the response or lack of correct response from like families, friends, associates, because that's common. And that's unfortunate. And basically,
it's more upsetting than the original thing, because then you have to be faced with the fact that you don't even have some people who you thought were your real friends are not necessarily your real friends, because then they would know that you wouldn't. I mean, I would never in a billion years make something like that up. And if I was going to make something up, it wouldn't be getting groped on the leg. I mean, that's pretty lame. You know, I feel like at least put a boob in there or something.
But seriously though, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like these people who say, oh, well, these things can be made up. Well, sure, anything can be made up. But let's look at really what's in it for the victim. Not much, as you found out, you know?
Yeah, really. You would think that you have all this power and you can kind of go and put it on blast. But I don't know. I think when you're in that kind of situation, it's totally different.
I think so too. I mean, okay. This was based out of this platform. This idea was based out of a strong belief that the innocent need not suffer again in order for the powerful to be brought to justice. Because as you mentioned, it's like you're suffering twice. It's bad enough you had to go through this traumatic and bizarre situation that was unpleasant, but then you have to suffer again when you come forward. So reputation check basically takes that out of the equation. It's like, okay, you had this bad experience. It's traumatic. You have the courage to report it on a system where you're protected, and then people will be alerted to it without you risking that whole second reliving of it, that a whole other punishment.
So that's going to go out to all the other ladies in the group saying like, watch out, this guy's a perv.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. I mean, look, even if it's not something, and you know, we haven't really fully explored it, but even if it was something where it would just be like, hey, just a little nudge, maybe don't go near him, you might cry and grab your crotch. You know, like, you can have at least a little bit of a heads up. But what's also been so frustrating to me is how in libertarian culture, even though libertarianism is the most you know, individual based kind of political philosophy, I'm super excited about it. We have no self-policing in our own community. Carrie DePhillips and Kelly Chase did a really funny episode of their podcast, Workationing, and they were talking about how at Freedom Fest, some of the women had been approached like as if they were prostitutes, which, you know, if that's not your goal there, you know, it's a little weird to be like, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to join you for the evening. Although I'm curious, how much? No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I mean, it's pretty wild that, you know, those kinds of episodes are almost, you know, thrown under the rug, and people are, you know, there have been reports made to sort of higher ups in different echelons of libertarian, you know, overlordry, and
that's great. I put that.
And like,
I love it.
You wonder why nothing happens. Why don't they do anything about it? And a lot of times it's because that guy's also doing it, and he doesn't want to get in trouble for his roaming hands every time he gets wasted. So, you know, I like the idea of warning other women. I would love to see some sort of societal smackdown, some actual shunning, because the courts are not doing a very good job of protecting people. And, you know, look at a guy like Jeff Berwick, right? Total creep. You know, I mean, I'm sure Acapulco was great and you were there and all, but like,
I didn't meet him, by the way, so I can't speak from experience.
He's partially responsible for Galt's Gulch, which was people lost over $10 million there. And now he wants to do another Galt's Gulch. So it's like, dude, people. And I know for a fact that he's groping women. Like, it's like a well-known thing. And he continues to get invited to different major events. And people keep saying, oh, Jeff Berwick, but he speaks so well. It's like, yeah, he speaks really well while he's grabbing your boob against your will. What a great libertarian.
Not
I mean,
cool.
It's infuriating.
It's not acceptable.
You know, but you tell people, nobody ever does anything about it. They're like, oh, whatever. So as you could see, I'm really passionate about this, but I'd love to see some more solutions even in the crypto space. I know that this is happening. There's a lot of stories being told about, job interviews that are dates. And you're like, wait, I thought I was,
No,
it's like, I put on makeup for this.
That's not working.
So I don't know. I like that we're talking more about it. Have you gotten any pushback from people?
Oh, yeah. And it's funny too, because I started speaking at conferences, which is super exciting for me, Tatiana. I'm really loving this. And thank you again for having me on your show, because this is like the best practice for me. This is the best work for me, is just speaking with another woman about this and having to answer questions. But the most interesting thing that happened last time I spoke, it was at a conference last Monday, FinTech World. And I was presenting reputationcheck.io. And the funny thing is, as soon as I explained the platform, I looked at the faces of the people in the audience, and I visibly saw this. It was amazing. It was physical. The women leaned forward. They literally leaned forward. They're like, okay. And so many of the men, I can't say all the men, I just noticed this. Okay. So many of the men, their faces just like, they became super uncomfortable. Like one guy was like, I was like, wait a second. What's up there? What's going on there? A little guilty? Or what is that? Why do you have that reaction? It's so funny. Then that to me says volumes. You're an artist. We're watching people's emotions. We're in tune to people's emotions. So that was very important to me. I thought, and the way I see this as a platform is not only what it can do specifically, but what it can do for society at large, how it can change the dialogue, how it can kind of change the mentality and the communication between people. I wanted to open things up with people. I wanted to make things more available and to give clout and to give responsibility and accountability to groups of people, communities like ours, like the libertarian community. I think that would be so valuable. I look forward to that.
Well, I hate to see people using the banner of liberty to get away with stuff. So obviously I'm super psyched. I have a friend, MK, and she— I
just met her not too long ago. She's awesome.
Well, MK's super. So she did an episode of her podcast, Iconosask, and her and Stephanie Murphy were talking, and I've been sort of paying attention to what they've been saying, because I find myself a little bit, for lack of a better term, a little bit more traditional. Like I like my doors held for me. I like, me too. The kind of thing, like the gentleman thing. I'm into that. I also think that I have a lot of sympathy, I don't know, for men in these times, because there are some confusing messages, right? They're taught that they're supposed to be manly, then they're taught they're supposed to be sensitive, then they're supposed to be this and that. So
I do agree.
I like to try and find that nuance, right? Because not every dude maybe they're just awkward. And then, you have the whole Aziz Ansari. I know that MK felt that was an appropriate thing to bring to the Me Too conversation. Whereas I felt that Aziz Ansari, for people who weren't listening, he went on a date with some girl. She went home with him. She had been pretty aggressive trying to date him. He took her on a nice date. They went home with him. They drank. She had oral sex with him. Then he kept trying to have sex. And I'm kind of like, okay, this is a very, very familiar situation where you're uncomfortable with a guy, right? But homegirl, you went home with some famous dude after he bought you an expensive dinner, and it's late at night. What do you think he wants to play? Checkers? Come on. And
I have to agree.
But I mean, I get it, because we should be a little bit more easy to assert ourselves. So I welcome that in the conversation, but I worry that it's too much. Like, I like the Camille Paglia school of, punch him in the nose.
I love her so much, girl. She's like a goddess, right?
Yeah, no. And so I feel like these conversations are so uncomfortable for people. And there's room for everybody at the table. But if we don't at least give a little bit of credit to the guys, that maybe not all of them are trying to mansplain things to us, and give them benefit of the doubt, I think that would be helpful. And then one other point, I feel like I just went on a tirade, but MK
I love it.
Well, MK pointed out something that I thought was very interesting, that only about 1% of the people that are making a claim those are false claims. So I don't know where she got those stats, but I'd be very curious, because I thought that was really striking, and a real quick
I'll ask
shut
her
the
about
hell
that.
up.
Thanks for bringing that up, because I know her now. So and she's
Well,
in LA,
that would be a great thing for you to include when explaining that to people, because that's a really common sticking point.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm digging this. So when can people start using it?
Okay, so we are in the preliminary stages. So right now I'm talking to VCs, angel investors. There will be no ICO, and I want to touch on that subject with you a little bit too, because I want to see if we can have a short. I don't want to take too much time. I want to have a short conversation about that, because girl, oh man, first of all, I think we can agree that blockchain is so inspiring and so philosophically moving. However, since writing in the space, and I know you write in the space too, and you have this podcast, which is huge, it becomes hard to see so many scams. And there's two kinds of scams, okay? One is the outright scam. That's the easiest, actually, when you know right away, oh, you read the white paper. Obviously, this is a scam. It's not going to work. This guy just doesn't know what he's doing, or he doesn't care, or he's just trying to scam people. But the second kind of scam is the most disturbing to me. All right. That's the kind of scam where the people involved have no idea that this is a scam. They have no idea that it's going to work out. That's not going to work out, I should say. They think they have this ideal, which may be beautiful in certain ways, that this kind of plan is going to work. And you know, because you're in the space and you're absolutely familiar with it, what's possible, and human nature to a certain degree, it's not going to work, but they're going to take a lot of people's money. And that's a problem. And I'm a libertarian. I'm against government regulations. They're very harmful. However, I will say what's been bumming me out lately is how I can see so clearly the scams. And that's a problem. And so with reputation check, there will be no ICO. There will be no tokens. It's not about that. It's about the platform. It's about just getting it out there. And so that's why I'm going to exclusively be approaching VCs and angel investors, maybe eventually institutional investors as well. But if I crowdfund, it's going to be a different kind of crowdfund. It's not going to be sell tokens in sort of hopes that maybe it'll be on an exchange and then you'll make money. It's not going to be that thing. And believe me, I love the space for buying altcoins. I'm totally vested. That's another conversation, but that's not what this platform is. And I don't want to even be in the same room with these kind of people who are con artists,
Yeah. Well, I think that we're making some progress. Do you know what tech you're going to use yet, or have you not thought that part through? You've got the ideas going and you're sort of experimenting, or how's that part going?
I'm meeting with tech people now too. I'm having conversations with people. So I can't tell you who I'm working with because I haven't settled on that yet.
Okay. Well, we're gonna stay in touch with you. I'm so glad that we got a chance to connect.
Oh yeah, me too. This is great.
Together. I was like, I was at your house. Cool.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your story too, and I'm so glad that we could connect on so many different levels here.
For sure. So if you're doing a little bit of speaking, so I want to give you a chance to plug yourself. Tell people where they can catch up with you, and also if they're intrigued by this idea, how they can contribute and stuff like that.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Okay, so the speaking gigs, our first one is March 29th, Thursday at Estrella on Sunset Boulevard. That is part of a meetup group. That's a female meetup group. It's Beverly Hills Crypto Ladies Social. It's kind of a long name, but they can reach out to me for that information to be repeated as well. The second one I'm doing is at University of California at Irvine. And that is the Women's Blockchain Summit, and that's April 8th. It's a Sunday all day. That'll be really, really fun. Only $5 for students, too, $50 for other people. And the third one that I am super excited about is the Global Blockchain Summit in Denver, Colorado. And that is April 19th and 20th.
I've got it down as Aurora. What's the difference?
You know what? It is actually literally Aurora. But I said Denver because that's the airport, and it's close to Aurora.
Okay, cool. Perfect. I'm a big fan of Colorado, so you're going to have a good time. I'm a little bit jelly, I got to say, but I'll be in Toronto that weekend.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to Toronto, and then I've got a trip out to Amsterdam. So a lot of
super fun. You can hang out with Kelly?
I am. Yeah, Kelly and Carrie's birthday. She's having a birthday, and she now knows that I'm going, so it's no longer a surprise. But yeah, I'm super excited to spend some time with my ladies.
I wish I could join you girls. Maybe some other time. I do love Amsterdam as well.
I hope so. I hope we get a chance to hang again soon, Juliet. Please stay in touch, and I'll make sure that we're retweeting all your news and stuff. And happy to connect.
Thanks so much, Tatiana. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Thanks. Right. So we're going to bring on Dionna, and Dionna and I are good friends from the crypto space. And what I love about Dionna is that she is the best at taking pictures. Most people don't understand why that's important, but it is. And your inner mom can't control yourself. My mom has the same skill set. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I was so excited to take those pictures for you because I was like, nobody's taking pictures. Like, well, I knew people were taking pictures, but nobody was there for you taking pictures. And it was such an amazing moment. I wanted to make sure you had it forever.
Oh, thank you. So we're referring to Satoshi Roundtable. I did a really neat gig outside and the wind was blowing in. There was smoke coming off the barbecue, which looked like a smoke machine. I was like, woo! And so Dionna hooked it up. So yeah, Instagram thanks you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome.
Very good. Cool. So I'm so happy to have you on the show. You've been working with Nexus for quite a while now, but you have a really interesting background. You're like a Juliet of all trades. So tell me a little bit about your background and then we can get down to Nexus Earth.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to your first guest and as she's going through her background, I was like, well, that just shows you blockchain because you get people from all ends of the spectrum. So I actually just retired out of the Army 2 years ago. I did 18 years as a medic and was very happy when it was time to go. I just realized though that I was kind of missing something and I wasn't really sure what it was. Last year in July, I ended up going down to Phoenix and meeting all the guys in Nexus, and they're telling me about blockchain and all this like grand idea that they want to do, and me getting out of the government. I'm like, government's never going to let you do that. Like, there's no way. You have no idea what you're talking about. That's not how it works. And like a month goes by, Colin has to come up to Colorado. We go out to dinner, and they're having like this PR thing. And I'm like, well, why aren't you this? And why aren't you this? And why aren't you this? And he's like, well, do it. And you know how Colin is, right? Colin's just like, just do it. Just do whatever moves you.
Yeah, he's got a real free spirit.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I got on and I started doing it. What we were talking about. The interesting thing was because of that, I had to research blockchain. And as I started researching it, I was like, holy cow. I instantly saw what it was and I dropped everything in my life because I see it. I see where it can go. I see what it can be. I see what it already is. And it's revolutionary. I think people who understand it are all on this bandwagon.
Yeah, I think so. It's a really fun and cross-sectional time. So for people that don't know what Nexus Earth is, I actually have some Nexus. I don't know how the price is doing today because the market was a bloodbath. I was like, come on, Mama needs a new pair of boots. Have like little holes in them. Some help. No, really though.
No, it's been bad. I've been waking up like I woke up and looked at I always look at Bitcoin and Nexus and everything, and as soon as I hit the phone, I was like, I'm like, come on, you guys.
I know. It's fun though, and I have I'm not exactly looking. I'm just joking around. I mean, I could wait a hot minute, but it's been a little bit painful. But still, we had such a fast growth the past few months, so there's got to be a little correction. Sure. But what about Nexus Earth? Like, why? Okay, I'm a regular person and I want to invest in some crypto. Right. Why is Nexus Earth going to be interesting to me? How can I use it?
So there's a lot of different entities to Nexus Earth. So I'm going to try and keep it really simple, but understand that it's a gigantic project. So first off, we're our own blockchain entity, which means Colin, who is the originator of our code, he kind of sat back and watched blockchain over the years and said, okay, that's working, that's not working, this is working, and went back and rewrote the entire chain from scratch to fix all of the issues with it. So our use case at the moment is a cryptocurrency, but it's not the only thing that Nexus is about. We are, instead of the normal 256-bit hash, we did a 571 and a 1024, which is NASA's recommendation for quantum resistance. So theoretically, our coin is already quantum resistant. I know, right?
What does that mean, quantum resistance?
So when quantum computing comes out, the fear of Bitcoin is that when quantum computing comes out, it's going to be able to turn over so fast it'll obliviate the code. And so if you have a chain that's quantum resistant, it's not going to be able to do it in the same way that we're fearful it's going to be able to. So we got that's one up. We're one up already, right? So then we don't reward our miners off of block size. We reward them off of trust and the truth of weight. So the longer and more honest they are, the faster they answer, the more they get rewarded. They just sat back and kind of figured out all these different than Bitcoin. In that way as well. The great thing about Nexus, Colin and everybody else. So he sees the way that all these things should do. So, we're considered more of like, I'd almost say a blockchain enterprise. So we want to be the foundation that everybody builds their projects off of. So it's a much more grand scheme than just like a token ICO that wants to solve one problem. Colin set out to solve all the problems. The other thing that's really interesting about our project is Colin's dad is Jim Cantrell, and Jim Cantrell started SpaceX with Elon Musk. And then they kind of severed their ways, and Jim broke off and made a private missile company called Vector. And we have a partnership with Vector. And so we will be launching our own satellites into space this year so that we can create an alternate internet. So you think about it, right? So now you've got this amazing blockchain technology.
Is that a Nexus thing, or is that somebody else that you guys are partnering with and you guys found a way to do it together? Well, was the impetus for that internet through you guys, or was that someone else?
No, that's through us. That's through us. We just hired on our main satellite guy. Actually, was one of the lead developers on Iridium. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that satellite project, but it was huge. And so we're building between the satellite, the ground station, and the mesh network. That's how the alternate internet will work. So the ground station can be for the up and download links, and then the mesh network will help with communication. But can you imagine how unstoppable blockchain is going to be at that point?
Wild. I'm excited.
Yeah. What do you do? So it's a fun project. We've been around for 3.5 years. We did not start off as an ICO. We're actually a nonprofit. So it's great because we've grown to what we've grown so far with just the technology and community spirit. So we've one of the best communities I've ever encountered in blockchain. They kind of just grab me in and embrace me as family. And every day they still surprise me. And they, like, for my birthday, everybody was like, "Happy birthday, D." On Slack. And I'm thinking, I don't even know how these people know me. Like, you actually know who I am. And you know my birthday. That's awesome. So our community, they surprise me every day. They get so passionate about it. It goes back to that true philanthropy that blockchain was built on, and that the people deserve the power. They deserve to have the same opportunity to information and the same opportunity to actually make the decisions that impact their lives. And I love that blockchain can fix that.
So wait, you started out saying that the government wasn't going to let you do that. So why, how do you feel different? What's happened? Has anything changed? Are you still concerned? I mean, if you were in the Army and you were a medic, right, you must have seen some bad sides and then also some good sides. So how has your view changed there? Have you sort of adjusted things, or how are you going around it?
Yeah, two things. For one, I don't think I understood, obviously I didn't understand the technology at that point. It's when people start talking about something that's such a radical paradigm shift, you're like, there's no way you're going to do that. Now, are we going to set out to accomplish everything that we want to? Probably not, but we're going to pave the way for the generations ahead of us. And I think that's what's exciting. So now that I understand the technology, honestly, I don't think anybody can stop blockchain. I think it's here to stay. I think that it's going to be life-changing in the places that adopt it faster than the other ones do. The second thing I just want to say is the government made me. So I love this. It's kind of like, damn the man. Like, I get to stick it right back to him and be like, I'm your own product. You made me, and I'm gonna propel the project or projects, the mindset, the technology that's just gonna get rid of it.
Well, I like your style, girl. You know, we're building this up. So what's happening in the future for Nexus? What should people be excited about? I know that you guys had that amazing event last year. If you're having another one, you know my number. That being said, are you doing another one? I know that you're doing a lot more speaking, public speaking, which I think is really great. Anything on the horizon that people should be aware of?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We can talk about, because I know
which-
there's probably secrets. I want to know the secrets too. If you feel like telling them, we'll accept them. As well.
I wish. God, I wish. You know, that's the tough part about this field is you get so excited. You're like, guess what? Oh, I can't say anything right now. I gotta wait a minute. But when I saw you in DC, I still crack up because I'll be at an event and I'll turn around and there's Tatiana, and it's just those random places. And then that whole Blondini with Jeff Garzik was like the best picture ever. So
he liked that. So wait, does Jeff Garzik, he's doing a space thing. Is he going to do anything with Nexus? What's happening?
We're chatting with Jeff Garzik.
A little flirty flirt is going on. I gotcha.
You know, we're entertaining things. It's exciting. Big things. So big things this year with Nexus. We have a Churnium wallet that's coming out. It's Colin's put a lot of time and effort, as well as the developers, into making sure it's a premium product before it's released. That should be out within the next few months. We should be able to get a satellite up this summer for testing. And then of course that's just going to help expedite the alternate internet. And then there's other things coming. You're just going to have to watch it, or you could go to nexusearth.com and subscribe to our newsletter, and then you'll get a lot of the juicy stuff that's going on.
You're very good with your newsletter. I noticed that it comes out regularly. It's quite robust.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have you on that team over there.
Yeah, that's Wendy Katz and Brian Venna, and I feel so honored that Nexus has hired some of the people that they've hired, because we brought on all these extremely talented, intellectual people who are just as passionate about the philanthropy side of the project as we are. So they provide a good balance, and as you can see, it's consistent and it's good. The last one I was really impressed by. I was like, holy cow, you guys are getting great at this.
Yeah, well, practice makes perfect, and it's nice to see the whole entire space evolving. Is there anything coming up that you're most excited about for the rest of the year? What conference are you going to? Anything? Are you coming to New York for Consensus?
Yeah, definitely be in New York for Consensus.
We got to talk about that party, girl.
Okay.
The secret party, everybody.
The Tatiana Dionna party.
Oh, yeah. I can't do that, man. But
we'll work on it. By the party, we'll have you good.
Good, I'm ready. I did a little bit of I've been trying, when I'm at home, I like to try and work out, because on the road, I'm just like, give me your candy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm at home and I'm like dancing. I'm like, yeah, I'm a good dancer. I'm like a little bit better than Elaine, but that's basically as good as it gets.
That's right. If that's your workout, at least you'll be getting it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And I've got my little weights, so that's always fun.
So yeah, we do have our conference again this year. Of course, it was so amazing last year. We would never disappoint everybody and not do it again this year. I believe they're looking at Phoenix, Arizona, which is a step away from the magical land of Aspen, but if everybody saw the magical food bill of Aspen, they would understand why. And so
Aspen was an expensive conference location. I mean, God bless you guys. Thank you. It was very, very enjoyable. I don't think I've ever been treated better by a conference than by you guys. That being said, I imagine the nonstop, 400 different desserts a day flow would be a little bit pricey. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we had to come out with a bang, and we like to think of ourselves as the Apple of blockchain. So now we just need everybody to start buying the Nexus so we can continue to be the Apple of blockchain.
Well, I have done my part. So
as you should.
I encourage everybody in the audience to check out this project. Final places where people can connect with you. Give me your plugs.
Well, first off, go to nexusearth.com. That way you can go down. We're already listed on the exchanges as NXS. You can find us on Bittrex, Cryptopia, CoinSpot, Right BTC. And again, get on there, get that newsletter. That'll keep you updated on everything. Yeah, it's so good. I'm telling you. I get excited when I'm like, oh, the newsletter's out. I can't wait to read it. And I work and I already know what we're doing. The second thing is you could find me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, Dionna Bailey. Try to keep Facebook for friends. So please, or family, don't get mad if I don't accept you on Facebook, but all the other social media is there. And if you see them coming to an event, come out, say hi, and let's talk some Nexus.
Excellent. Very cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I just want to say that I'm very sorry to Josh. He texted me he had a car accident.
Oh no.
So now I feel all guilty. I mean, apparently he's alive because otherwise he wouldn't be texting me. But yes, he has a good excuse. I'm a big B. Josh is a little, victim.
Fair enough. Aw, you're awesome.
I know. Well, you know what? I gotta bust a little balls from time to time, even my own.
Right.
Thank you to our sponsors, the Bitcoin CPA. Kirk is always doing a great job. Crypto Compare, our friends over there. Check out Voltoro.com. Get your Bitcoin gold exchange on. freeross.org. Please support my friend. Please support Lynn. She was also at the Nexus event, so thank you. That was really, really awesome. And a quick shout out to my peeps over at Third Key Solutions, Sovereign Tech, Sex and Science Hour. And I've got some shows coming up if you want to hang out. I'll be in Toronto, April 19th for Sunny's event. I don't know what the name of it is. I think it's FinTech Canada or something like that. I might be in Berlin April 4th and 5th. I'm thinking about doing some Warsaw action next month. So just look at my website, TatianaMoroz.com, or you can go to cryptomediahub.com and get all of your marketing, PR, advertising, etc. stuff for the crypto space through me and my awesome team. So that's it. I feel like that was a very long explanation. Later, girl. I can't wait to hang out again soon. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. And hopefully Josh will be with us too. And thanks again, Juliet, fighting the good fight. Later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.